All right, guys, welcome to On the Mic with JB Banda. On today, it's episode 2, and I've got none rather than John Garrity. How are you doing, brother? How is it going?
What's happening, John? How you keeping, mate? How's things?
Mate, things are great. Things are great. Can I just say, like, you are like renowned to be like Belfast's very own like homeboy. Like, you are literally the Belfast Pascal. A lot of people know you as the Belfast Pascal. But you've done more than that. You've performed everywhere in the UK. Like, it's just a pleasure to obviously be on the podcast with you today. And I just want to say a big thank you so much for jumping on and joining me today and talking about basically who is John Garrity, which is good. First thing I'm gonna ask, obviously,
Man,
born in.
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be on the podcast, and I just wanna say, ever since I met you, I think I met you at the after the first lockdown, and we were doing like an outdoor thing, and ever since that, I've always found that you're so humble and you're such a good guy. Even to talk to, anytime that I've seen you on the street, you've always made time for me, and
Thank you.
it's good to be on your podcast.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Vice versa, man.
So
Vice versa, man. Now, honestly,
thank you.
so I just want to delve in and just basically let the audience know a little bit about yourself. So, born in County Tyrone, Enniskillen to be exact. Just talk to us a little bit about your childhood upbringing. How was that?
So it was I grew up. We had a taxi firm, so mum and dad were like people that done taxi driving, and we had a lot of people working for us. And yeah, County Fermanagh is actually, when people say, so a lot of people make the mistake of thinking Tyrone and Enniskillen, but Enniskillen is actually in County Fermanagh.
Oh,
But
okay.
the two of them are so close together, people always mix that up. But I have spent a lot of my life in County Fermanagh. But as for, I've always said I'm from Tyrone. But the past while, in Belfast, so many people say, "Oh, you're a Tyrone boy," and that that's I really appreciate that. But at the minute, I'm in County Fermanagh, I'm in Enniskillen, and we grew up here. This is where we spent our childhood. Our grandmother lived in Enniskillen, and she looked after us when mum and dad were working. And I think a lot of my musical love came from my parents and listening to music. We were surrounded by music growing up, and dad was always a massive fan of country music, and he would bring me from house to house to meet different musicians, and there was always someone that played an instrument, and that kind of put into my head that maybe one day I'd like to play music as well. And I've been lucky enough the past while. It's been going great in Belfast, and it's so good to be able to make people happy with music, and that's a point that I always bring out. I want to make people happy. There's so much negativity in the world. We're going through
True,
a tough
true.
time. There's
Yeah,
so many different things going on,
yeah,
and to be able to bring a little bit of happiness, for somebody to send you a message saying, "Oh, you really made my day easier, and I really appreciate your music. I love your music. I seen you in town." When people stop and take a video of me in town,
yes,
some people will be like, "Is it okay to take a video?" And I'm thinking, yes, please take a video and share
yes.
this, and
Spread the
maybe
love.
this will help somebody else.
Yeah,
And John, it's crazy. The people that come up and talk to me in town
yeah,
that are going through a tough time,
yeah,
like the amount of people that have came up and said, "Oh, had someone died, maybe a son, a nephew, a mum, a dad has died, and I've really connected with your song," and they're like, just it was like they feel a connection. They feel
I
like
always, it's true because I
they've
feel
been
like,
in that moment.
yeah, I feel like music is definitely a healer. Like, music is a healer, not just a healer, it unifies us as a whole. It brings people together.
Yeah.
And it's also not just that, like anybody that's going through like obviously the mental health and things like that, like I feel like you'd listen to a song in any situation you are in your life. There is a song that will uplift you in every situation. For instance, if you're going to the gym, you have that song that will pump you
Yeah.
up, get you motivated. If you are feeling happy, you want to go on a night out, there is that song that gets you just want to get on it with your friends. If you're sad or you've got a heartbreak, there is that song that will kind of try and mend your heart. I feel like music is definitely a healer, and the fact that you heal so many souls and you
It's
touch so many
amazing.
people through music, man. So that's amazing. I just want to touch on
Yeah.
basically at the age of 17, you traveled to America. You were there for about 3 months. Talk to me about that, like Nashville. You went there. Obviously at the age of 17, you released your first album, New Beginning.
Yeah,
How was that? How
I've
was
been
that?
so
Like, how did
lucky.
you get into that?
Nashville's been really, really good for me. A lot of uh, a lot of my love for music has came from Nashville and spending time there. What started out as a holiday soon turned into an educational trip to obviously learn more about music. I went to Nashville. I've been to Nashville. I think I've been to Nashville about 20 times
Yeah.
since then.
And when you
There
went to
was
Nashville,
some years that I went maybe 2 and 3 times.
yeah, when you went to Nashville, was your new album, because I know you released your new album, New Beginnings. Was that before the trip to America, or was that after
Yeah.
you came back?
That was right before the trip. That, that was really, that was right before the trip. And we done a show and it was crazy. The amount of the amount of people that was at the show the night, and the next morning I was traveling to Nashville. And the show that we done in Enniskillen, it was totally sold out. And I went to Nashville, and some of the music that I seen in Nashville made me come back and want to record another country. Now we're talking country music here.
Yeah, yeah,
Came back and done a country music album, and just Nashville is for everybody. Go to Nashville. Just I remember we arrived there on a Sunday morning, and here at home a Sunday morning, you know, Belfast City, it's a ghost town. And we went downtown Nashville. We arrived on the Sunday morning, and the music was everywhere, but it was gospel music, and it
yeah,
was powerful gospel music,
mm,
like being played extremely well.
yeah,
And in the bars, if you wanted to go in and have a beer, you could. And it's so strange, you know, you could go into a bar and have a beer and listen to somebody playing Amazing Grace, and it was mesmerizing how good this sound was.
yeah,
And the connection with the gospel music scene in Nashville is phenomenal.
mm,
And that's something I'll touch on in a minute. But Nashville for me was so warming, and I made so many friends there very, very quickly.
yeah.
And ever since that, I've kept in contact with them. But I think it was much more than that. I had a massive love for America in general, because I went to Texas to see some singers later on, a couple of years later, and ever since that, I've loved just the States in general. I've traveled from Los Angeles till New York a couple of years back,
And
and
what
that
is
was whenever I started.
yeah? What? Sorry
Go
to cut
ahead,
you.
sorry.
What inspired you to sort of write, like, obviously your first album was country, like why country? Because you could have gone any genre, but you chose country. Was that like your first love?
Because that's what I grew up with, and
Okay.
it's what was very current. Uh, where I was from in Enniskillen, everybody was listening to country music, and it was for me. I just loved singing it, and I loved
Yeah,
learning country music.
yeah,
Now I'm doing a different genre, and it's a lot more difficult to learn this genre now, because country music really tells a story, and a story you can connect with.
of course.
The genre that I'm doing now is not every song is a story, you know, but
Mm.
it's totally different. Pop music and country music is so different, because country music always has a real story
I
that you
feel
can
like
relate to.
country
And
music
people are
is
like,
very
"How
soulful.
do you remember?" Yeah, people are like, "How do you remember the lyrics to songs?" And I'm like, "Well, you kind of have to follow the story of the song. You know, this every song should have some kind of a story." And if
Yeah.
you stick to the story, you'll remember the lyrics. But yeah, I love country music. I love what I'm doing now.
Uh-huh.
It's so different. But I'm really missing traveling. I don't know about you. I know you love your holidays as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nah, definitely, definitely. These are new times, new times. And just coming back, so you got back obviously from America. It was like 2018. And then is that when you sort of started like what made when you got back, what made you decide to sort of stop? Because I know at that particular time you were working in the family business, which was the taxing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what made you sort
Well,
of decide to go ahead and jump into the music and just focus on
we
that sort
were,
of
I think we were traveling, across from Los Angeles to New York, and there was a place called Amarillo. I think it was Amarillo.
mm,
I don't know. There was so many towns we went to so many towns along the way, and there was a busker in the street, and he was playing. I was just thinking, is there a life doing that in Belfast and in Liverpool and in Manchester? I don't really mind where I do it as long as I'm doing something like that.
mm,
So I'd done a bit more research and seen what was going on while I was in the States, because obviously I was there for 3 months,
yeah,
and it worked out that was a lot of people busking, and I thought, well, if everyone else can do it, why can't I?
100%.
So I came home after doing that tour, and I came home and I was back at work doing what I was normally doing, and I was like, oh, I'm going to quit taxiing, and I went to Belfast to sing songs one night, and I had to do it for 2 nights in a row. So
Yeah.
I had like a full day in Belfast, and I said this could be a good chance for me to try the busking.
Mm.
And I went out. I went to Matchett's in the morning time because I'd stayed there that night, and I was like, well, I'm going to see what equipment I need.
Yeah.
And I bought the equipment that morning.
Wow.
And by the time I had finished that evening, I knew that this was going to be my job.
So tell me quickly,
And and
so how did your parents obviously receive that news when you told them, listen, I'm gonna do this full time? Were they supportive? Were they a bit apprehensive? I mean, how was that conversation? Talk us through that.
apprehensive, of course,
Yeah.
because I had just decided this, very quickly, and they were like, "Well, you're gonna have work here all your life. Are you sure you're making the right decision?" And I knew it was a bit of a risk, but I knew I could always possibly go back to it if I wanted.
Mm.
And it was 10 times better than I could ever imagined. And people got to know me so fast.
Yeah.
And just from that, things went from strength to strength. And I was like, this is really quite unbelievable
Yeah.
that I can come to a city nearly 100 miles away, and people are remembering me and are relating to what I'm singing.
And for
So
all,
I
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I used to I used to go, and I used to go for a day's busking, and then it got that I was staying, maybe overnight and doing 2 days in a row. If I could get 2 days off work, I was, doing a little bit of taxiing until I got someone to cover for me. And then eventually I just moved up. So I'm living there now nearly 2.5 years, So
Wow.
something's going right, and I'm constantly working on new material.
Yeah.
I've got the new album out and stuff, and I've just been constantly trying to bring a little bit of joy to people by going live on Facebook, or
Yeah.
by having the correct albums out with the correct songs, and
Yeah.
people are relating to the music and enjoying it.
That's good. So how much like obviously we've got a lot of people that are into basking, a lot of people that are into music, a lot of kids out there that want to come up the ranks, that want to be musicians. Like how much did that set you back with the equipment that you bought? Like what starting out, like how much did it set you up before you sort of like started, and how much did that cost? And when you started basking, did you sort of make those returns very quickly, or did you break even? How did that work?
It just depends. I would always say, it's hard for me to put a price on that,
Mm,
because my taste in equipment uh, has always been pretty good. I like good equipment, and there's people out there that can, use the worst equipment going and make it sound amazing. And I think that that is also, somebody can make something out of nothing. I think that's amazing and I love that. But just had, I think I like having the really good stuff because uh, it makes it a little bit easier for me.
Yeah,
But I think, you can have a budget of maybe £500 and you can make that back pretty quick. So I would definitely, and I love to see new buskers coming to the city.
yes.
Love it,
Mm,
you know, because that's what it's all about. That's what makes my job easier too. People need to see talent, and
absolutely.
it kills me to see people sitting at home and not having the confidence. And I've always been one for saying that if you have a talent, go and make use of it and show people what you have,
Absolutely.
because it, it can be anything from being someone that's really good at writing poems to someone that's good at being a PT, what you do. It's all about being motivational. If somebody has something that they can give to somebody else, be
Absolutely.
that person and show it, because that's a God given talent.
100%.
Everyone's put here for a reason.
That's your purpose. No, you're
But
absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Now, definitely, that's you. You're dropping some serious knowledge, and to everybody listening, they'll appreciate that. Definitely. Thank you for that. Another one we're just gonna touch on is Britain's Got Talent. Talk to me about that. I didn't even know.
Britain's Got Talent came. I think I've been busking for like 3 months,
Mm,
and they obviously have spotters on the street who, if they're visiting a city, they will send out maybe two or three people to walk around and see the talent.
yeah.
And believe me, that happens in every industry.
Wow.
They had two spotters who came over to me. It was like a Saturday morning, but I had known that Britain's Got Talent was in town, and I was like, "Oh, this maybe Britain's Got Talent isn't something that would ever appeal to me."
Mm,
And I was like, "Okay." I was busking, and they came over and they were like, "Oh, hi, you were from Thames Television and blah blah blah." And they said, "Hey, we're doing Britain's Got Talent. We're doing auditions in the shopping centre." And I was like, "Okay," in Castlecourt. And I says, "Well, I was on busking and I do my normal thing. I'm gonna be here to whatever time." And they said, "Okay, will you come over whenever you're finished?" And I went over and they kept me for ages.
wow.
And I sang like maybe five, six, seven songs for them,
Yeah.
and they were like videoing in their own phone. They were videoing on TV cameras and then they really wanted something big from me.
Yeah.
And Britain's Got Talent, they took me to London, they took me to Manchester, they took me for loads of different stuff. So they were really, really good. It was a massive experience, but they wanted like a Callum Scott type moment, where
Oh, okay.
you become famous on their show.
Mm,
And I just didn't get it, but I think they thought that I was going to get it because they kept bringing me back on the same editions.
yeah.
So you can maybe have you can have maybe five, six, seven editions in front of Simon Cowell and Britain's Got Talent, and it might never be shown because they have faith in you that you're going to have this massive moment. Like
Yeah.
Callum Scott done numerous editions and never was televised
Mm,
until he had the big moment,
the
and
big
that's
moment.
what it's all about. That's television,
Yeah.
and I've been so lucky. Like Thames Television have been so good to me, and they have asked me to do loads of different like shows. Recently, I was meant to be on some shows for them, and it actually couldn't happen because one of the judges from Britain's Got Talent was actually. It turned out she was going to be a judge on another show, and she already knew me. But the context of
Ah,
the show meant that I couldn't do it.
fair
But
enough.
no, they've been, and it's good to be in that loop. It's
Yeah.
good to
Yeah.
be friends with people that have contacts and that know how to get you into these places. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's been great. The Voice, we were spotted for The Voice as well,
Oh, yeah.
and we went down and done auditions for loads of different things. Some of them worked out, some just could have went better, but everything happens for a reason, and I think everything's laid out for you. What's gonna be,
100%.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be.
For sure, man. For sure.
You
For
know.
sure. And then you obviously you were on you in the Nolan show. How was that, and how
you
did
know.
that come about? I mean, I seen that moment. That must have been like one of the best moment, because obviously you got to share the stage with I think, is it Steve from
Yeah,
the Codaline
Steve
guys?
Garrigan. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
obviously Irish band, for those that don't know. I mean, how was that? How did that even come about again? Like, amazing.
Um, this happened last January. I was in New York. I was busking for I'd done a 5 day busking, and my phone was I was constantly getting wee notifications about different videos and stuff. But I seen someone had shared it on Twitter, which I didn't still to this day don't know really how to use.
Yes.
And I seen someone had shared something on Twitter. Everything was cool, and I thought nothing of it. It was the video of me singing "All I Want,"
Yeah.
and it was getting serious views. It was
Wow.
getting like
Because it went
I
viral, and
think the
that's how
first
they hit
24
it.
hours got like it got like 100,000 views in the first day, and I was like, oh, that's good, that's good. And next day, I woke up and I had like 100 notifications, and one of them was from Codaline. It was a tweet saying, does anybody know who this guy is? And we'd love to share the stage with him. I was
Wow.
like, that's crazy. Everybody was jumping on it, like Belfast Telegraph, Irish News,
Yeah.
all the newspapers. And I was like, oh, this is great, but I'm in New York. Like all the radio stations in Belfast was ringing me to New York and me doing interviews over the phone. The hype was massive. And in the midst of all that, I knew I was coming home to do a small interview on BBC Radio Ulster,
Yes.
and I was in contact with the Nolan show as I was traveling home, and was saying, I've been at the show and I've always wanted to do the Nolan show, and I was like genuine about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, is there any way you can give me a platform just one
Absolutely.
night till
Yeah.
singing the show? And they said, we can try our best. But whether anything comes out of it is another thing. We can try and get you on the show, but there's so many people that want to sing on the show.
Yes.
So I says, okay, that's no problem. And they kept putting me off, but little did I know that they were putting me off to a date when Codaline were going to be available
Oh,
to
wow.
come.
Wow. So you were thinking
And
they are
they then
blowing you off,
explained
but they
this
were
to
setting
me.
you up. Yeah.
Yeah, but I never knew nothing. They got me in early that day for the sound check, and it should have clicked. When I look back now, my musical mind should have said to me, why is there a drum kit on the stage?
Yeah.
Because the band was coming in later to play after that, and it was just mind blowing. It was one of them moments that I look back now and think, oh my god, so many people were unknowingly thinking about me, and
Yeah.
were that I didn't recognize, or I didn't know, but in secret they were all thinking of how much this was gonna make me happy.
Wow.
And that is such a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like the Nolan team really, really, and they all have me now on Instagram and on
Yeah.
Facebook, and they're all friends of mine.
Yeah.
And it's just one of them moments that I'll never forget. And even like Stephen Nolan came up to me after it, and he was like, just you've everything you've done in Belfast, and you've brought the communities together. And he says that's so important. And he says,
Absolutely.
if you ever need anything, always give me a call and everything. And I thought to myself, this is so good that
Yeah.
I have got myself to this point that these people want to bother with me.
Absolutely.
Because I'm from the countryside, and I'm coming to the city where there's endless amount of talent, and people have given me the time, and that's amazing for me.
Yeah, because I watched it and I was like, it was so surreal and such a pinch me moment. Because like when Steve walked on stage and you could just see the emotion, and I must say, you still remained professional as well. Like if anybody hasn't seen that clip, they need to go check it out. Like that was amazing, and I could see because Stephen Nolan actually said like, I don't even care. Like we've run out of time here, but I'm still gonna talk to this
Yeah,
young man because this is a moment that you
yeah,
remember for the rest of your life. And I thought that was really credit to him because that was that was good, man. For him to do that,
Yeah.
that was really good.
It's just one of them things that I'll never forget. And even right up, we done the Empire gig as well. We done a gig in the Empire Music
I was
Hall,
literally about to
and
ask you about that. That was gonna be my next question because I was like, talk to us about selling out the Empire, like because you sold it out, and that was like one of your debut gigs, wasn't it?
it was my first gig, and it was totally sold out. It was just one of them moments that you think, when I actually was about to go on stage, I was thinking, this is just crazy. You know what I mean? Where do things go from here? Where's the next level? And
Yeah.
lo and behold, the gig was sold out. I was surrounded by amazing people. Everyone that came that night still talks about the ambience and the feeling, the emotion, and the songs. And yeah, I just want to do something like that as soon as all this is over again, and I I just want to keep being creative.
Yeah.
I've released my new album, and I just want to keep creating music. The new album is literally gone crazy. People are asking for it to be posted to Australia, to America, all over,
Yeah, I
and
seen that.
that's what I want. I want my music.
I
Yeah, I
seen that. I
want
seen that
people
a
to
lot of
hear my
people on your
music.
social media have been asking about the new album, and obviously, that is that the greetings from Belfast? Is that correct? That's that one, right?
Greetings from Belfast. It's all songs that people request, that people asked me for when I was busking in Belfast, and I used to note
Yeah.
them down and think what reaction I'm going to get from each one.
Yeah.
And I find, I released it. I released it Halloween time, so the end of October, and I turned 30 on the 3rd of March. So I'm literally working as hard as I can to have another album finished,
Wow.
because we're not being able to celebrate birthday parties or anything. I'm going to release an album
Oh, fantastic.
and just let people order the album and have something different just to mark the occasion.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what are you? Is that gonna be similar to greetings from Belfast, or is that gonna be a little bit different?
It's going to be, I have to say, after listening till I think we're into the first 6 tracks now recorded,
Mm.
it feels totally different.
Okay.
But the emotion and the connection is so strong in this album. It's
Absolutely.
I have to say, it's getting easier to record. Like, like I'm still learning a lot, as far as recording goes, because it's different styles, and I find that, like, I'm even having my own input. Like, Eamon Kiernan is doing the album,
Yeah.
and I'm finding that I'm directing a lot of how the arrangements are as well, and he's letting me go with it.
Mm.
And that is really, really, really nice to be in that position, because I'm used to being in studio and being directed.
Yeah.
But I feel now that I've learned a lot, and that I want to kind of put my own input into it and put out my own wee stamp, on it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you say your favorite album? Well, your favorite song? I mean, all of them probably are, but which one do you reckon resonates with you more on Greetings from Belfast? Which song would you say?
The favorite song for me to listen to from the album would be, and it's a strange one. The album was meant to have 12 tracks on it.
Yes.
Yeah. I had another bonus track set aside, uh, which I needed to have something there just in case something happened on one of the other tracks, and I didn't want to, I wanted to change things around. And I said maybe I could record, because I'd never released an album with 13 tracks,
Mm.
because of superstitious head and me. And then I said, one night I was out and I was having a couple of beers, and we were talking with musicians, and I says, I'd love to cover a song about Belfast. And one of the guys goes, do Belfast City.
Yes.
And I was going to the studio the night after that. The song was produced that night that we were out. So I had texted the guy that was building my tracks, and he built the track that night, and the song was recorded and finished within 24 hours, and
Wow.
it's my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Belfast.
it is good. It is good. I was gonna say for me, obviously, Tennessee whiskey, finally enough. I found that quite nice. I like that one. And
Yeah, we do a little bit different. We done that. That is actually a live recording.
yeah,
We traveled down to County Tyrone. There's a friend of mine from school, and he records music videos, and he invited us down, and we recorded that one and Better Half of Me by James Arthur.
yeah, yeah.
Them two songs are as live as anything I have ever done. They
Mm,
are recorded totally live, and there's
yeah.
the videos of them as well is totally
Wow.
live.
Yeah. No, that is amazing. That is amazing. And obviously, like you're working on a new music, so people can still. How can people get you on this one? How can people reach out to obviously get this?
So I'll tell you what I do. On my albums, when I release an album, I'll always put a couple of songs from the album on Spotify
Yeah.
to let people get a taste of what the album's about, how it sounds, think to themselves, do I want to buy this CD? If you want to buy it, yeah. The only way to do it is to send me a message on my Instagram, on my Facebook, and I post the CDs are posted the next day.
Yeah.
People normally have them within a couple of days, and then they really enjoy it that way. And Spotify has got a couple of tracks, so people can have a listen. There's a
Absolutely. Yeah.
lot of stuff on YouTube. There's not too much of the albums aren't really on YouTube, but people can get clips on stuff on YouTube just to
Yeah.
hear the music, see what
Yeah.
they like.
Yeah. No, I
But
do.
I've literally only started properly focusing on YouTube the past while, and it's gonna be a massive mountain to climb. It's so hard to master.
It is.
To get subscribers on YouTube
I'm
is so
literally working
difficult.
it out. I'm working it out as well. I'm literally working it out as well. My first podcast I did was the first video I ever put out on there. I've always had it, but I've just never known like how to go
Yeah,
about it. And I'm asking so many people that are helping me edit and do everything. Like it is a difficult platform to sort of kind of figure it out. But one thing I must say is you're very quick to respond on social media. Because I remember I reached out to you about the CD and you responded very, very efficiently. In fact, you actually delivered it to my house because we live close by from
yeah.
each other. Like, and that was great. And I thought that was really, really good that you quickly responded to me and asked me when I wanted
I
it.
try. I try my best. I
Yeah,
try my best to make it easy for people to try and get it. Um, if people reach out to me in any way, if it takes me a few hours to reply, it's probably because I'm working on something or I've been really busy. Like when the busking be happening, be so difficult, but I managed to keep on top of it. Even coming up to Christmas, people were ordering CDs for family, for friends, and I still managed to keep on top of it. I was coming in from busking and I was sitting down and doing the CDs. Every CD I have ever posted
yeah.
has been me. I have been there while they have been packaged and posted.
Mm.
And that is a fact. And I think it's a lot to do with me wanting to be a part of it and to be there to know that it's getting done correctly. And not that
Yeah.
anybody else would know how to, but it's just the personal touch. I like to be there and to do it, to take responsibility as well,
Absolutely,
you
and
know.
I think a lot of people would appreciate that when they hear that. Like, there's that little bit of a personal touch to it, which is really, really great. Now I'm gonna jump to something that I read, obviously, in the papers, and it's a sad moment. But of what happened, is it last year? The attack that happened when you were basking. Like, how did that come about? And obviously, it was a Friday or something, and two guys. Was it two guys? Like, talk to us about that. Like, what happened there?
I think two guys was really drunk or on other stuff, and it kind of there was a homeless girl and they walked past, but the girl went over to the door of McDonald's, and obviously she didn't go into McDonald's, but the two guys came out with their food and was like, they were drunk and they were shouting at her, and then they were like going crazy in the street, and I was like, watch my equipment, stand back, and then he just turned around and smacked me in
Jeez.
front of everyone, and people was going crazy. So
Yeah.
I just defused the situation and let them go. But
Because
I don't hold no grudges as long as it doesn't continue.
yeah.
We want to make Belfast as safe an environment as possible for everybody to enjoy and for everybody to come and enjoy the free space. And people was like, "Oh, them boys should be locked up and all." I'm not really bothered because as long as I wasn't injured or anything or it didn't affect me, but the response I had was amazing. The people were so supportive. I
Yeah, a
just
lot of
want
people did back you. They I mean, like, obviously the video like went viral. I think it was like 90,000 views or something. And a lot of people
yeah.
stood by you and kind of said, this is not, shouldn't be allowed and, shouldn't be happening on the streets of Belfast, like, which
Yeah.
I felt like that was really, really good. But
But we just want to make it as safe a place as possible, and we want to get people on the high street. And it's so sad to see so many shops closing now
yeah,
because of the current pandemic. We just want people to come to the city, enjoy a bit of music, have lunch, and do their shopping, and that's what it's
yeah,
all about, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And the lady as well. You spoke about a lady that's always there when you sing. Is it the Grace song that was on the other side shouting at you or something?
Great.
Yeah, when you sang there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that happens a lot, but I just, the best thing to do is just to continue on. And, the way I look at that song is for everybody. It's a love song. And,
yeah,
some
what is
people
it?
take it the
Explain to
wrong way.
some
And
people, because some people, obviously, if you're not from Ireland, if you're not from Northern Ireland, you don't know what that song. It's an Irish ballad, Grace, and I know Rod Stewart.
it's an Irish love song.
Yeah, favorite song because Rod Stewart is one of his
Yeah,
favorite songs.
it's an Irish love song, but people always say, "Oh, it's a rebel song," but for me, it's not. And it's not. That's not the way I'm singing it, and I've explained this in the podcast so much. And so many people from every community has came to me and said, "I love that song so much."
Yeah,
That's why it was so popular for me. That's why I don't really worry about, people being negative about it. I just want to get on with it. I want everybody to enjoy it, and that's what it's about for me.
100%, man, 100%. And do you think, obviously, with the COVID and the lockdown, like, how has that affected you? Obviously, as a musician, like, how has that affected you overall mentally? Like, what can you say?
Um, it's been difficult. There's been parts of it that's been difficult. To be creative it's a lot. It's a lot harder because you can't mingle with the same people. And in other ways, it's been good because I've been able to focus on different things.
Yeah,
And at the start of this, whenever all this began, I was actually touring. I was over. We done some songs in Thailand. Done 3 gigs in Thailand, and had to come home early. And as soon as I came home, it was straight into lockdown, and
yeah,
the streets were empty. There was nobody there, and it was just such a sad, sad time. And even at the moment, it's sad that people are still losing their lives. People don't really know whether to believe what. And I just can't wait for everything to go back to normal.
yeah. Do you think there will be a normal? Do
And
you think there will be a time when we'll have gigs like you singing in the Empire with crowds and the fans sold out seats? Do you think we're ever gonna go back to what normal was in terms of music?
long term, I think we will. Uh, Short term, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. You know, but I think if we're all patient, we get through it, and we get things back to normal as soon as we can. The more patient the people are, the quicker it'll heal itself. Hopefully, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And obviously, for you being a busker and a singer as well, like, are you getting like government funding? Has the government helped the musicians? Because I know there was a lot of petitions
Yeah,
going on
there's
online with
yeah.
musicians needing to get help. Like, how are you guys being looked after?
There's different grants. Everyone's got different grants, and it's all about approaching the government and asking them for help as well. There's so many different schemes for musicians. Help Musicians NI have been in touch. it's all about trying to get through it. People are going live on Facebook, sing songs on Facebook, put up a tip jar. People like what you're doing, give a little tip, little donation, whatever. Yeah, and yeah, there's. I have to say, it was tough at the start for a lot of people, and it's gradually got easier. And I just hope to God that gigs happen soon. You know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What have you got planned? Obviously, once lockdown is lifted, any gigging like where would you say it's your favorite place in the UK to go to where people are receptive? Obviously, Belfast being one of your favorites, but which other one would you suggest?
Liverpool is very good for me in Manchester
Mm-hmm.
and Glasgow. There's so many different places, but I would say Liverpool is one of my favorite. Um, but the idea after this is to do a big gig like the Empire again. Hopefully towards Christmas time. You
Yeah,
know, that's how far ahead I'm thinking.
yeah.
Could be further, could be next year.
Mm.
Nobody knows.
No, you're
Uh,
right.
it's nobody genuinely knows. So we'll see how it goes. Help of God, we'll be back to normal as soon as possible. But we just got to be patient, you know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And obviously, like you're like I spoke to you briefly, I think, when we were at that party when we first met, and we spoke about you
Yeah.
being not signed, and you said like you prefer not being signed. The likes of Jason Derulo have gone on to just unsigned artists, and they're doing amazing things, and they own everything, they own all the right, like they're making so much. And do you think are you gonna stay down that road, or are you looking at different music labels? I'm sure a lot of music labels are approaching you at the minute because you are the best thing that's happening in Belfast right now.
Over time, I think you can look at going that direction, but you need to kind of build a secure fund, in case things don't work out. And firstly, I would say till for me, it's all about just making people happy and being comfortable in life. Anything after that is a bonus. As for labels and stuff, sometimes whenever it gets commercialized, it gets a bit difficult, and people's attitudes towards the music changes.
Yeah.
So I think for the minute, I'm really happy at what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna keep going with what's happening, do the gigs. Hopefully, I'll get recognition and somebody will approach me, at some point.
Yeah, no, 100%. And are you doing a lot of like collaborations with other Belfast musicians? Like, what's the scene out there in the Belfast music? Do you guys interact, share, ideas? Like, is everybody
Yeah,
welcoming? What's this?
everyone's pretty good with each other, but we're not seeing each other,
Mm,
so it's a lot more awkward now. you
yeah,
know where
absolutely.
before this we'd have been having a beer together, we'd have seen each other at gigs, we'd have seen each other going from one gig to another.
Yeah,
Everything's changed now in music, and I
yeah,
just hope that everybody comes back and be's the same when they
mm,
do come back.
yeah,
But we just, you know there is musicians there that are really really good to work with,
hmm,
and some of them just want to be left on their own, and that's it.
mm,
Everyone's to their own device here.
absolutely.
Jonathan is my guitar player. He plays a lot of my music, and he helps me whenever I'm being creative. And also Eamon Kernan, um, and we have Paul Mahan as well in Croc Studios. So I'm surrounded by great people. One of my best friends is Luke O'Lone, and he is currently releasing music as well. So we all give each other feedback, we all stay in the same clique if we can, and just see how each other's doing. But then there's other people that just want to be on their own. So everyone to their own. I don't mind.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Obviously, mom and dad, I'm sure they're happy now that you've chose that path. What do they think of you now after
Oh,
obviously 3 years ago?
totally. They've always been a massive support, regardless of what genre I've been doing.
Mm,
I've traveled all over with my father, and I've been really lucky that we've traveled some of the places that we've went.
yeah.
As for now, yeah, they're obviously seeing how well I'm doing, and they're really proud. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
complain.
Nah, that's good, man. That is good. So definitely, is Belfast your new home now, or are you thinking of planning moving back home after a while, or you just kind of?
No, Belfast is definitely where I want to be,
Yeah.
and yeah, I like being in Belfast and then coming down home and visiting, but I always like going back up to Belfast, you know.
Nah, that's good. That's good. So a lot more. What can people expect? Obviously, coming up. I know you've got your new music coming, your new album dropping soon. When is that? Is that going to be the 30th of March or the 3rd of March?
The third of March. I'm
3rd of
hoping to
March.
have it out for the third, but if everybody watches my Facebook and Instagram, all the details will be on there. Just as soon as I can, I just want to get the music out there, and I want to have it at the correct level as well. You know that it's sound really really good, and I've just got a few different wee ideas. You know, I'm looking at merchandise now, like t-shirts, hoodies, stuff like that,
100%.
hats. You know, so it's just it's just a kind of opening up, and I'm hoping that people are going to warm to it, to the new album as well. But yeah, people can expect the gigs, good gigs, and they can, if as soon as everything is allowed, they can see that I'm going to be out playing as much as I can. But always remember that I'll always be a busker, and I'll always be performing on the streets, no matter how big I get. Well, unless things go crazy, But
Yeah.
I want that to be my normal thing, that I'm seen as a person who does big gigs but doesn't get ahead of themselves,
Yeah.
that my feet will always be firmly on the ground.
Do you think that the
You know
basking
what I
kind
mean?
of sort of humbles you a bit and kind of brings you like you and you
Yeah.
love it as well? Like it kind of just it's like where you go to sort of try new music, like try it out. Like you always hear
Yeah.
comedians, like I hear like big comedians like Kevin Hart, they'll be saying like they always go back to their old school comedy clubs and try out their new material
Yeah.
before they go out, selling out, arenas and things like that. Is that what basking is with you?
It helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
It's really good to do a bit of busking and to see how people are warming to your music. But the Facebook lives are crazy as well, because people are always like, "Oh, will you try something new? Will you try something new?" I'm just excited now to get to do proper gigs and to see how people really warm to the stuff when I'm doing the stuff that I know that they're going to enjoy. When
Yeah.
if it takes a while, it takes a while. But that's my main goal now, is to get back to big gigs. Look at my merchandise, do my album. I'm just going to keep grafting at it, and keep
Yeah.
being creative.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, one last thing, man. Obviously, thank you so much again for doing this. What would you tell anybody out there, any young musicians that are coming up, anybody that's sort of thinking of basking and thinking of, giving up their day to day and kind of delving into the music industry, especially with how things are right now? What would you say to that person? What would you advise them to do?
The first thing I would say, to give up your job is a massive thing. Um, to have a secure fund, I'd always have a backup plan, always have something to go back to,
Mm,
and try it out. Try it in small bits and see how you enjoy it, because it's not for everybody. But my one bit of advice on music from a musical point of view is to practice, practice, practice.
mm.
Have people listen, take feedback, take criticism.
Yeah,
Criticism is one of the best things you can receive in this industry,
100%. Absolutely.
because it will make you better yourself. It'll
Mm,
make you be more creative. It'll make you look at it from a different angle. But I would always say, always keep your feet in the ground. Never get ahead of yourself. Never think that you're better than any other musician. Always think positive and think, how can I be the best person that I can? How can I make people's day a little bit better through music? And it can be anything from just saying hello to a homeless person.
mm.
That can make a homeless person, just to say hello to that person, to give a friend a text message saying, "Are you okay?" You know, it's the small things.
Mm.
Always be humble and always stay true to what you are and your music as well. You just have to be as kind and as good a person as you can. And I think everything happens for a reason. If you're going to be a musician, you're going to be a musician. But practice is key in music. Always, always, always practice, and always be a good person as well. It really helps. It
Yeah,
really
no, wow.
helps.
No, wow, that is absolutely amazing, bro. I am blown away with the amount of information that we've covered, and I just want to say a big thank you so much for jumping on. I know you're a busy guy, like you're saying. You're currently recording your new album, which I'm looking forward to hear as soon as it's out on the 3rd of March,
Yes,
which
mate.
is your birthday as well, which is great. I think that's gonna be really great. You know, on your birthday, you're giving us an album. I mean, how amazing is that? You're very thoughtful,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, but that's it's a win-win for me because I love creating music and I love creating something which people get enjoyment, makes me feel better, and it's just as long as everybody's enjoying the music and everyone's receiving it well, that's all I want, you know.
No, thank you once more, man, for jumping on. And guys, to everybody that's listening out there, you know, everybody that's streaming, everybody that's watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, make sure you download, make sure you share it, and go and follow John Garrity on all social media platforms. He's a very humble guy, Belfast's very own, you know, Basker, and we love you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, John, and I appreciate everyone that's listening, and I appreciate all the people of Belfast. And I'm so grateful for your friendship as well. Thank you so much, mate.
Brother, thank you, man. God bless you. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you guys for this episode, for joining us. JB and John, again, thank you guys. Thank you very much.